Hey people of VC, it's Andy, Cloudy Mulder. I'd nearly forgotten. It's been about a month since I made a video, to be honest with you. The last 2 or 3 that I posted, I made before I went off on holiday and scheduled those to go out every few days. I don't like posting too many every other day or what have you, because I tend to get less views and people forget about them. So I dragged those out to make it look like I wasn't really away. But as it is, it's been about a month since I actually made a video. And as the title suggests, I went record shopping in Liverpool in England a few weeks back. This year is the 30th anniversary of meeting my college friends. I did my degree in Liverpool and I met some great lifelong friends. We don't meet up too often, but when we do, we have a blast. So we all met up in Liverpool, and I turned up a couple of hours early so I could check out some of the record shops. And Liverpool has, obviously it has a great music culture. The Beatles is the obvious one that springs to mind, although I'm not a big Beatles fan myself. So you'd expect there to be some decent record shops around. And yeah, Liverpool has quite a number of record shops, but they tend to be, I found they were quite small, and they certainly don't necessarily cater for my taste, although I did find a few gems which I'm going to share with you now. 2 places I went to, one was called Dig Vinyl and the other one was called the Pop Boutique. Wanted to Dig Vinyl first, and what I liked about it was I got various sort of flyers and things, but on the back of this flyer, which is obviously talking about Dig Vinyl itself, it had a little map showing where Dig Vinyl was. But obviously I knew where it was because I was there and I got this. But each of the numbers are the other record shops that are in the city centre as well. So I thought it was quite cool that they're all supported each other. So number 1 up here, this is Probe Records. Now, when I used to live in Liverpool, I would go to Probe Records, although it didn't used to be here at Bluecoat. It used to be near Matthew Street, which is where the cabin and the big Beatles area of Liverpool is. I did pop into Probe, but it's not really a rock and metal place. It was more sort of indie and alternative style of music, which is pretty big in the whole Northwest, the whole Liverpool and Manchester scene. Number 2 down here was 38 Records or 3B Records? 3B Records. Didn't have a chance to look in that one, but I didn't find it. Number 3, the Jacaranda. Now, Jacaranda is it's like a club. It's got multiple levels. You go in, the first level is the bar, down below is a nightclub. First floor up is like a cafe bar, and in there they've got a number of record bins as well, so it's kind of like a little boutique record shop. And in fact, a number of these record shops here are kind of boutique record shops. They're not record shops in their own right, which is kind of quite cool when you get to see them. But the Jacaranda didn't have anything again. It had a whole section dedicated to the Beatles and had a little bit of classic rock, but nothing really that suited me. Number 4 is also another Jacaranda store. I didn't get to see that one though. Number 5, 81 Renshaw Street. Again, I was pushed for time really. So that's another one to check out when I go up there. There was also one out of town as well, which I can't remember what it was called, but definitely looked a visit. But given the time that I had, I didn't have time to get out of town and back in and meet up with my friends. And number 6 was Pop Boutique, and I'll talk a little bit about them later. So Dig Vinyl is a kind of it's a small boutique record store. In fact, it just has less than half a floor of there's a 2-story shop called, I think it was Resurrection, which was either modern retro clothes or second-hand retro clothes, so very hipsterish. That was across 2 floors, and on the second floor that's where Dig Vinyl was situated, and it had quite a few bins, and I looked through and it had quite a good metal section. So I found some great stuff in there. There was some stuff that was way out of my price range anyway, but other stuff that was quite reasonable. So I do love a vinyl bag. So this is the address for anyone wishing to go to Liverpool and seeing this. This is Dig Vinyl in Bowl Street, the first floor of Resurrection. There we go. And in Dig Vinyl, I found a copy of Accept, Restless and Wild. Now this album did come out in 1982 originally in Germany, but this is a 1983 UK pressing. I think it was the first release in the UK in '83 as well. This is on the Heavy Metal Worldwide label. Previously, Balls to the Wall was my go-to Accept album. That would be the one that I would tell you would be my favourite Accept album, and nothing is going to sway that. But this, I think, is going to push Balls to the Wall off the #1 spot. It has been in constant rotation since I bought it. Absolutely love it. Fast as a Shark, classic metal song. Now, I've heard many of these songs before. I've just never owned the album before. So Fast as a Shark, not new to me, but just killer song. Head of the Pack, Shake Your Heads, Get Ready. Really good song. Has a really sort of AC/DC meets heavy metal vibe to it. Love that. Flash Rocking Man, Don't Go Stealing My Soul Away. And it ends really well. There's a 6-minute plus epic song called Princess of the Dawn. What is strange though is the song, it gets to the end and it keeps repeating Princess of the Dawn, Princess of the Dawn, Princess, and then it abruptly stops. It's like Princess of the and I'm guessing it's supposed to do that, but having not heard that song before, I don't know. So let me know if I've just got either the pressing's probably wrong. It's probably absolutely fine, that's what it does, but there we go. Accept, Restless and Wild. This was £12, and while I was kind of don't want to get it for that much, I had a look at the vinyl. The vinyl was in really good shape, and it's also on the 80s clear red vinyl, which almost kind of looks like boiled sweets. Sounds pretty good as well. So, and there's the Heavy Metal Worldwide label. The second album I found, which I was going to buy, I mean the condition was good, I was going to get it anyway. It cost me £12 and I didn't have any heartburn in buying that at all, because I'm usually a little bit tight when it comes to my second-hand records. But a Baron Rojo, or as they probably say in Liverpool, a Baron Rojo. This is from 1982, they're Spanish, and this is a Volumen Brutal. This is a UK pressing, and the vocals are in English, the original Spanish version, and I think a lot of worldwide copies have the vocals in Spanish. I would love to hear this album in Spanish, so hopefully I will get that one day. As you can see, all the song titles are in English as well. Now this is I'd never heard of this band really before I started watching VC videos. And when I started getting back into buying vinyl, listening to heavy metal again, many years ago now, I remember looking on the internet for bands that I'd missed, and this band came out quite a lot of searches. So I always thought it'd be cool to own something by them, and this is the first time I've ever seen something by them in the wild. So I wasn't gonna miss that opportunity. It's a real melting pot of kind of new wave of British heavy metal style music and 70s hard rock together. This is their second album. Side A, Isolation Ward, Rockers Go to Hell, Give Me the Chance, Termites, Flowers of Evil. Very new wave of British heavy metal sounding. If it wasn't for the kind of the accent of what's his name? I guess it's Jose Luis Campuzano's vocals. Obviously singing in English, being a Spanish, it would very much sound like a British band at that time, around 82. Has a very early kind of Demon sound to it, if you must have a comparison. I'm even going to forgive the Mel Collins, the sax on track 4, Termites. as well. I'm gonna let that one slide. I'm not a big fan of sax, as you know, on metal records. If you watch this channel, but I'm gonna forgive them this time, and this is the only time I'm gonna forgive any saxophone in this video. Side B, Stand Up, Someone's Loving You, Concert for Them, You're Telling Me, and The Baron, Fly Over England, has leans more towards the 70s hard rock side. I feel Someone's Loving You is a great track, and Concert for Them has, I think, has a bit of a Blue Oyster Cult type feel to it. It's on Camouflage Records, not that exciting a label, but I was absolutely stoked to grab that one. Third album I found there. Now this was a record that I firstly never heard of again before the VC. Metal Mike was the person who brought this band to my attention, but I was put off because of the description being kind of like funk metal, and that's Mordred, Fool's Game, 1989 on Noise International Records. I'll still probably tell you, if you ask me, that I don't really like funk metal sound, but more of it seems to have crept in my collection over the years. So and I do enjoy what I have, and I really do enjoy this album. So I shouldn't be put off by these labels still after all this time, but you know, some habits are hard to change. So that would have put me off. The other thing that put me off is the artwork. Don't judge a book by its cover or a record by its sleeve and all that, but I don't really like the cover. There's something about kind of surreal art and heavy metal don't really mix with me, and that goes for Iron Maiden, Seventh Son as well. It's one of my least favourite covers that they've put on an album. But I kind of do like surreal art, just not on metal records. Again, that's another irrational part of my record collecting nature that I can't seem to shake, but there we go, not important. But also I would never have gone anywhere near this in 1989 simply because Lado here is wearing a waistcoat. What's that all about? Still, saw this for £8, great condition, grabbed it. First two tracks, any doubt I may have had, so that's State of Mind and Spectacle of Fear, bang, grab your attention straight away. Track 3 though, Every Day's a Holiday, it's a full-on funky bass action, or the scratchy record sounds in it as well. I'm not fully on board on that, I've got to be honest. Spellbound, after that, not as funky, but it does sound incredibly familiar. I want to say Metallica, but I'm not sure. It might just be that something I've heard after it sounds like this one, and it's not. This sounds like something else. So, if you're familiar with the song, maybe you can put me out of my misery and let me know what you think it sounds like. I don't know if it's been ripped off or they've been ripped off, one of the two. Anyway, the artist, first track of side 2 is a good thrash track, as is Shatter, but it's over. It's not over. It's it's clean thrash vocals, and that is what I like. Certainly, if I had to compare this band to one of the big four, which inevitably people tend to do, they're more on the Anthrax side than any of the other three, but far more funky than Anthrax ever got. Super Freak, probably my least favourite song on the album. It again goes very scratchy. That's not Scratchy Record, but Scratchy Records. I presume is it a cover? I don't know, or whether it's just a lot of sampled stuff, but who knows. But yeah, not a flavour. According to the liner notes, Chuck Billy does some backing vocals on here. I don't know how many songs, one song or the whole album, but he gets credited for it in the line notes down here. And there's a nice little Noise International catalogue. It is probably see me getting red and red. It is absolutely roasting here in Edinburgh. It got up to, it's 9:30 at night now and it's still really humid. It got up to 28 degrees here, which I know for a lot of you, you're probably thinking 28 is mid-winter, but we're just not built for it in this country. Our houses aren't built to keep you cool, they're built to keep you warm, and we don't have aircon or anything like that generally because we don't need it, honestly. But I'm kind of dying. I've had to close a couple of windows because the main road outside, and when it's quiet at night the traffic sounds even louder, and you hear that over me talking on the video, which may be a good thing or not, I don't know. Next up, again, these are all from Dig Vinyl. Oh, I didn't show the Mordred on the noise label. Nothing too fancy there. So, Heavy Pettin. Oh, these are a Scottish band, I'm pretty sure about that. This is Big Bang from 1989, UK pressing on FM Records. Now this is a seemingly desperate attempt to break the US market. It's their first album in 4 years at the time, and it's kind of got a second-rate Def Leppard feel to the production. It is very, very keyboard heavy. Ironically, the best track on here, my favourite track on here, is This Is America. It has the dreaded saxophones on here. They make an appearance on this one, but unlike Volume and Brutal, this is a travesty of metal in this case. This shouldn't be anywhere on here at all. I mean, I've mentioned this a few times. I love the American sound of metal. American sound has its own sound, as did the British sound have its own sound. But I just don't like British bands trying to sound like they're American to try and make it in America. I'm not going to fault them for trying. That's where the big bucks was. But this just doesn't cut it in this case for me. There's a song on here, Madonna on the Radio. Madonna. Yeah, that Madonna. Why is there a song about Madonna on a hard rock metal album? I tried to hear the lyrics, but I wasn't really getting the full gist of the lyrics. I couldn't find the lyrics anywhere else online, but I did find a reference to an interview with Punky Mendoza back in 2005, and he was asked what his thoughts were on the song Madonna on the Radio, and he said, and I quote, "Puking up after having to play the guitar on the track. The song was written by a Swedish guy who sold it for a few quid to Pettin's manager. I guess he thought Pettin was a vehicle for his music rather than their own." So I think that kind of points to the album that, points to the fact that it's probably not really their album. My introduction to Heavy Pettin was actually the song Heaven Sent, which was on this sampler 4-track EP from Metal Hammer magazine back in 1987. So that's 2 years before this album came out, and they were still kind of touting that song. And they also call it the second new wave of British heavy metal, but Heavy Pettin were around from early 80s as well, so I'm not really quite sure what they were doing on that, but there we go. First album though, if you want to dip your toe into Heavy Pettin, get Letting Loose, the first album. I wouldn't have dipped my toe in at all if it wasn't for Blackmore Rules, who sent me their first album as VCLT, and it's an underrated gem if you ask me. However, I did pick up this and I paid £6 for it. I'm not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. It's a fun album, but just not anywhere near as good as their earlier material. Just FM Records as well. So that was Dig Vinyl. Also had a little card for them as well. Nice little boutique shop. I then popped on the same road. Short for time. I didn't think I'd find anything here because the shop itself is called Pop Boutique, and it's not pop as in pop music. It's again, it's a bit of a hipster, second-hand high quality retro clothing shop. But if you go to the back of the shop and go down the stairs, there's a little music shop. Again, they I think they call themselves Music in the Pop Boutique or what have you. It's got a slightly different name, but it's still all geared up to this place. And I think these are the same bags that you would get if you bought clothes as well. So not ideally suited for records, but my wife's got a ride on that one. I thought I'd show it for the sake of this video. It was a small room, had quite a bit of vintage music gear as well, record players and whatnot. They didn't necessarily look in the best condition. I don't know if it was more of a museum or whether they were for sale. The records themselves were incredibly tightly packed in, so it was very, very difficult to flick. You had to basically take a chunk out to flick through and then try and ram those other records back in. So a lot of the records didn't seem in the best shape. In fact, the best record I found, or not the best record, the record I was most interested in was an original Fist, the British heavy metal band, but it was beat to hell, and I wasn't going to pay the price that they wanted for it. But I did eventually find 2 records, and they were by The Cult. And the good thing is that recently I'd commented on one of you guys' video about how I really needed certainly the one Cult album, and one I'm going to show, but I've never seen them anywhere in the wild. But to see the 2, I grabbed them. And first up, Electric. I thought this is the Cult album that I had been looking for forever. It turns out I'm completely wrong. Gatefold, the back cover. I put this on and I barely recognised it, to be honest with you. I first heard the Cult in around 1987. That seems about right. And this album came out in 87, so I think in my head I kind of put 2 and 2 together and thought, yes, this is the Cult album that I enjoyed as a kid. But turned out it wasn't. But having said that, it's absolutely fantastic album, and I thoroughly enjoyed listening to it. Peace Dog blows my mind. Little Devil is great. Love Removal Machine on here it sounds like Start Me Up by the Rolling Stones. I thought it was a cover to start with, but it's not. But it's still a great song. The letdown on here is Born to Be Wild. And to be honest, who needs another cover of Born to Be Wild? Weakest song on the album. I'm a big vocal guy, and Ian Astbury's his vocals are just fantastic. Call me crazy, but the Cult, certainly this album, kind of reminds me of the love child of In Excess and Guns N' Roses, although they formed before Guns N' Roses and after In Excess. In fact, Guns N' Roses supported the Cult at the start of their Appetite for Destruction tour in 1987. In Canada, I think it was. There's your vinyl, same label both sides, and a nicely maintained lyric inner sleeve. So the album that I was really after, which I didn't really know, was Love. And it kind of makes sense when we read the songs on the back, because they're the ones I would tell you I like. I just, for some reason, thought they were on Electric. The songs I like on here, and I am probably going to name nearly every single one of them. Nirvana, Big Neon, Love, Brother Wolf, Sister Moon, Rain, She Sells Sanctuary, Revolution. It's just start to finish, it's an absolutely superb album, and even the ones I didn't mention are really, really good as well. It hasn't got the same sort of more hard rock sound that Electric have. If you look on the categorization on Discogs, has this as goth alternative rock, but to me it's just fantastic guitar oriented rock as far as I'm concerned. This is a US pressing as well. They were on Beggar's Banquet at the time, and Electric was on Beggar's Banquet, but this is on Sire. The funny thing is, every time I see this label. Focus. Every time I see this label, I just think of the Ramones, because the Ramones are on sire and I have a lot of those. And here we have the inner sleeve. Only 3 band members shown on here. I think the drummer, what was his name? Nigel Preston basically got kicked out of the band. I think he plays drums on 1 track on this, and then you've got Mark something like that, that plays on the rest of the tracks and joined the band at that time. So there we go. That's my haul from Liverpool, England. I've not called this in from the inbox because they've barely been in there, and to save expanding out the inbox too much, certainly when I go on a dig in a new city, I like to basically listen to everything straight away when I get home, and makes a nice theme for a video. Let me know what you think of these as usual. Thanks for watching. Catch you again soon.